Welcome back to Riding Bikes in San Diego. We are on Fairmount Expressway, really. It goes into Fairmount Avenue, but this section is an expressway, and it's a buffered bike lane. Luckily, it hasn't rained in a while, so there isn't a bunch of sand everywhere because there's nothing to retain all the sand on the embankment. There's a little lip right there, but it gets pretty inconsistent, and it wasn't back when we started. So the thing with riding on this buffered bike lane, usually it's fine. Usually cars are whizzing by very quickly and drivers are going very fast, but some days at some hours it gets congested and drivers just don't know what to do. Sometimes they back up the driving lane, but more often they do what they're doing right now and back up the buffer section. I actually rode this a couple of days later, and the drivers were just firmly in the bike lane and I was in the buffer, but I didn't have the camera going or else I would have compared those for you. But it's okay, we can get around these drivers, and I used to have a big problem with this. My attitude in years past was like, get the hell out of my space. But everybody's going slow, and this is actually way safer for me to ride through than if there were only a few cars here trying to get over into this exit. So I didn't like how close I had to be to that red car going right around me. But it's okay because we're going to pass them. This is traffic. Just a reminder, for all the folks who give me a hard time in the comments and say that I should stop riding a bike and just driving a car. If I were driving a car, I would just be another person in this. I'd be another gigantic vehicle taking up space when all these other people are also taking up space trying to get where they're going. So if it's cool with you, and it should be, I'll just stay on my bike. I am taking up far less space, I'm not in anybody's way, and I am passing all of these clowns. This person is really close to the line, but we'll get by. This bridge narrows, and when it's an empty road, that can be really dangerous. Some drivers just drift into the bike lane really quickly over this little bridge, but it widens out a bit more. Up here we get the buffer back, and just standstill traffic. This kind of happens in cities. Just as a reminder, driving a car in a city is not always faster than riding a bicycle. It's a theme that I return to over and over again, and I'm impressed by it. Sometimes I don't expect it, but I'll be going along and a driver will do their thing, and sometimes they're not being rude or anything, they're not being dangerous, they're just going along, and they have a car that I notice maybe it has some kind of sticker on it or other distinct feature, and then I'll be going along a mile or two later, and there they are. For the neighborhood that we're going to, so for those who don't know, Fairmount here goes up to the mid-city area, and if you make a right turn, you're in Normal Heights. If you keep going straight, you're in City Heights. And if you make a right, you go through Kensington and then Normal Heights. If you go straight, you're in City Heights. And if you were to make a left, you'd be in Talmadge. And those are the four neighborhoods that make up Mid-City. Driving is not great in the Mid-City area. It's even worse in the Uptown area. And riding a bicycle is often faster, it's often more convenient. It's definitely easier to lock up a bike somewhere than it is to find parking. So that's something that I always want to keep in mind. And I feel like I've told the story before, but that's part of what got me riding a bike in the first place. I was living in North Park, which is in the Uptown area. And it's sort of, for people who are in New York, I feel like it's kind of like Queens. It's got density, but not super tall buildings, and a lot of mixed use, a lot of things that you want to go to. It's kind of a hip neighborhood here and there, and a lot of restaurants, cafes, bars, stuff like that, which I go to less and less, but I ride through it all the time and do go to a bunch of stuff. But it became so difficult to park, even though there's a parking garage that's actually never been completely full. It got so difficult to park that it's just always easier to ride a bicycle. It's always easier to lock up somewhere than to circle around and find parking. Driving, you might be able to get somewhere a little bit faster, but then you have to find parking, and that's a whole other headache. So we are reaching the end of Fairmount here. We're reaching Mead, which is a buffered bike lane, and there are traffic circles on it. And I've shown you stuff like that before. But, here we are, just having a ride and passing a bunch of traffic, and just having a good time, enjoying ourselves, enjoying a little bit of exercise on the commute home, and frankly enjoying the safety of drivers moving slowly around us, because when they're moving fast it is less predictable and they're more likely to hit us. But when they all move slow, we get to just drive less and ride a bike in peace. Thanks so much.